I would like to formally announce that we will not releasing this episode of CinemaTalk ever. We got hacked. Guys. We can't release this episode. It talks about things that could be offensive to other people. I don't think... Yeah, and we've already been threatened with non-credible threats.
Wait. Non-credible? Oh, that's the worst kind. That's
God. It is. We should definitely duck and cover, guys.
No, you know what? I bet it's credible. What do those Homeland Security people know? What do they know about this topic?
Yeah,
they don't know nothing.
America.
Whatever.
You know?
Anyway.
We can, yeah. Anyway, welcome to CinemaTalk, the official podcast for RuleThirds.com. Today we're talking about something, well, one of the most unique moments in cinema history.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the interview Debacle. My name is Max.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Larry.
Let's get this going. To the lobby!
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes.
How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
I'm so happy. Today was the last day of school before winter break. I'm off until the 5th. So
You ended, but you had your last day 2 days before Christmas?
Yep, that's usually how public schools in New Jersey work.
Huh. I would always end the Friday before. That's just me, though.
Yeah, well...
by the time you guys hear this, or by the time you guys, theoretical listeners, hypothetical listeners, all of y'all, hear this, I will have my wisdom teeth pulled out.
Yes.
And
also, Merry Christmas, right? It'll be Christmas Eve when this goes up tomorrow.
Yeah, so Merry Christmas Eve.
To those celebrating, hurrah.
Eve.
And all that.
And I hope you get all the gifts you were looking for. I myself am getting a certain someone the Guardians of the Galaxy Blu-ray. That's
Nice.
pretty cool.
Nice.
You guys getting given at all to this year?
Well, yeah, but I'm not going to say.
Oh.
It's a secret, because I have family members that listen. No.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna keep it
Well,
wraps.
speaking of giving, we're going to give you, listeners, the hard truth on all this crap revolving around that Sony movie that really shouldn't be making that much of an impact.
The hard
Ladies and gentlemen,
truth.
over the last few weeks, we've been seeing a huge, like an escalating conflict become seriously kind of like irritatingly big.
Yeah, why don't you shortly go through like the whole thing, like for those that don't know this whole debacle about the interview.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think there are all that many people that don't know about this thing, but there are people out there, and there are people who exist outside of this podcast, guys, and I think they need to know.
Oh man,
The world is just us. This podcast.
The world is just us three people in this one.
We are a plane of existence that is merely CinemaTalk.
Seriously.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start. Essentially, this movie was actually first announced sort of actually on a Howard Stern interview a year ago when Seth Rogan was talking about this at the end. And they described the scenario. The scenario had always been to go to North Korea. The scenario was to be somebody going to go interview Kim Jong-un or Il or whichever one and kill him in the process. Did you know it was actually supposed to star Michael Cera? It's pretty interesting.
That would have been really
It would be a much different movie.
Yeah.
So then in June of 2014, around the same time that the first trailer was released, there were some not so nice things said from North Korea. One of the unofficial spokesmen for the North Korean government. The interview shows the desperation of the U.S. government and American society. A film about the assassination of a foreign leader mirrors what the U.S. has done in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Ukraine.
It is exactly what has been going on there.
Precisely, yes. It's a comedy
movie.
Yeah.
It is literally the same.
Now, let's see.
I mean, basically, the next thing that happened was the hacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was already kind of a controversial movie because it is a living political figure, whatever. But I don't care. For me, it's always just a goofball comedy. About a month ago, November 24th, 2014, Sony Pictures, as the studio, was hacked. Employees could not, I remember the original headline, employees could literally not go onto their computers because every single computer just showed, a really vague and really strange message. What's that all about? So then they, let's see. So as the days continued, more leaks were made, including a ton of really exposing emails and announcements for movies. And now that's a whole other subject for its own.
Yeah, that's a whole other subject, and the fact is that people are reporting on it is a little bit questionable.
Oh,
but
yeah,
the point is,
we should address that. Let's dedicate a little bit of podcast to that. That's actually a good topic. Listen, I'll be honest. I'm going to be a hypocrite in saying this. I don't think they should. These emails of just mad shit talking should have been released. However, I find them very fascinating and an interesting look inside the actual Hollywood, as it's kind of exactly what we all expected.
Well, we'll get
right?
there. But what happened next? After the hack.
After the hack, we got so many leaks, so many emails, so many announcements of movies, so many things that honestly don't really seem all that crazy. And then, let's see, it was a few, it was about a week ago.
Yep.
People started getting threats, legitimate threats, 9/11 style attacks.
Well,
if Sony Pictures were to release the film The Interview.
I don't know if you should say legitimate or not.
I mean, okay,
but
not,
it was
apparently
very it was the
direct.
hacker group making threats.
Not legitimate, direct threats.
Yes,
These
direct.
guys were they weren't dancing around it.
If you release the Interview, 9/11 style terrorist attacks at the movie theaters.
To quote John Stewart, is 9/11 now a fashion style of attack, or however he said it? Yeah.
Well, so what happened then?
Okay.
It's just fascinating.
And then finally, and then following those threats, here's the big news: 5 theater chains. I cannot find which ones they were, but 5 major theater chains.
I know Regal was there. I know Cinemark was there because
AMC was also.
AMC was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Regal and Cinemark are the 2 theater chains I go to.
A movie theater? They probably pulled it. Essentially, the 5 theater companies were scared about
it. It is the 5 biggest movie theater chains combined.
Yeah.
The top 5 all pulled it. Now, I also would not include that Sony was going ahead to release the picture, but said it's up to the theaters.
Yeah,
and then the theaters dropped. The top 5 dropped it. And this was in a day, by the way. This was a day. All 5 dropped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They literally all did it as a group. They're
Almost
okay, everybody,
group, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
It was like dominoes.
They hit the big red button that says no movie. That's probably what they did.
And so they pulled it from their release schedule. And then, of course, Sony...
And then Sony pulled it from theaters altogether.
Yes,
so,
canceled its release.
But then this is interesting. Today, there have been, interesting developments today. There were originally, reports that this could be, some kind of a digital distribution of the Interview, and that fell through. And then, there was, it was quiet for a few days. Nobody knew exactly what was going to go next. Nobody knew... who was going to be... Yeah. And then, just recently, Sony, it seems they're going to be there have been reports that Sony's going to be distributing the film for free on their streaming service, Crackle. There have been reports they're going to be, actually showing it in movie theaters, including the Alamo Drafthouse. Funny story, when Sony Pictures announced they would be pulling the Interview from theaters, Alamo Drafthouse announced that they would be playing Team America instead. And then they got shut down by Paramount Pictures.
Yeah,
terrible.
Which is unfortunate.
Terrible.
So, I guess also
what does this all amount to? What would you, based on all this crazy stuff happening? What would you say this all amounted to in one big phrase?
Okay, well, I think we should start at kind of the beginning, work our way through. Step 1. This is not the first time Sony has been hacked.
Yeah,
definitely
Sony
not.
needs to up its security.
Seriously.
Now, that is the good news from all this. Silver lining for Sony. Now, if people hear Sony hacking, they're not thinking about the PlayStation Network outage.
Yeah,
so it's kind of embarrassing. Yay! Good job,
thing.
Guys. But that being said, I have a zero tolerance policy in regard to hackers. I've never treated one seriously. Never respected one's movement. Never agreed with any movement. I could discard any thought they have based on those. I have no tolerance for hackers. They really upset me. They have no credibility in my eyes. They're no Robin Hood figures. They're sad, and I hate them. Anyway.
Wow, already off to a strong start.
It only gets stronger. I do. I don't care how noble you think your cause is. It's self-righteousness at its worst.
I don't know. I've always kind of appreciated those anonymous guys. I don't know.
No. Anonymous is the worst example of it. If there's one thing I can't stand, it is self-righteousness. The idea of taking, I have the power to change the world, self-given, and I have the moral authority to do so because I saw V for Vendetta. No, seriously, screw that. No to Anonymous.
Okay, anyway, so All right, so let's just talk real quick about the things that came out before this whole interview thing, which are all the emails and stuff. Now,
Right.
I want to point out, I don't want to report on the actual leaks and whatever because that is kind of bad.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. This is illegal. It is stealing. These emails, it's wrong. We don't want to report on them.
It's not acknowledging the world. Hey guys, these guys stole shit.
Right.
You don't really want to say that.
Right. I read a few things that were leaked. Some executives were calling actors horrible and all this trash talking going on. But we don't want to talk about them specifically.
Yeah,
and I just look weird.
I just heard
weird
specific
I
just heard the big ideas within some of the ideas that were being spread around. I didn't actually read any of the emails. I didn't really do any in-depth reporting or anything like that.
To.
Yeah, me neither. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Actually, it's about ethics in news reporting.
It's about ethics.
Okay, can we all agree that Gamergate's pretty much the butt of everyone's jokes at this point?
Yes.
Completely.
We're probably going to
There's
joke about it at least twice before we end this podcast.
Yeah. Seriously.
Anyway, so with those emails hacked, those interesting movie announcements, which I'm pretty much down for, and having all these emails come out. Those seem to be kind of harmless. Those didn't really seem to be that big.
Yeah, outside of, an actor is wow, that executive said this about me, I'm upset at them.
Yeah.
Or that movie announcement is going to be no longer a big surprise. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, this wasn't that harmful of a breach. However, they did breach it entirely, I think, so I'm pretty sure that the hackers still have data that could be very harmful, like employee information, social security numbers, bank accounts for paying, all that. Mm-hmm. So there's potential for harm done. But so far, it doesn't seem so. So far, it seems to be, yes, very harmful for a few people at Sony and for just the image of the studio as a whole, but really, it's not as harmful as it could be.
Yeah,
However,
what those emails explain to me is that Sony's kind of a mess right now, and you really didn't need emails to let me know that.
Yeah, Sony's been struggling for a little while with their motion pictures, but this didn't help their public perception.
And before the record, I'm not just talking about fucking Spider-Man. I'm talking about a lot of their properties.
Yeah, this wasn't a great year for Sony, was it?
Not really.
It really was.
Well, hey, the PS4 was doing well, so they got that going for them.
Yeah, well, that's their video games division. We're talking about movies here.
Yeah. Sony Pictures
Sony
was
Network,
Sony
you guys are
Pictures.
fine. Sony Pictures?
Not so
they're
much.
in trouble. All right, so that's a hacking. We're done with the hacking.
So then,
part.
so with all that said, now let's talk about the big issue at hand, which is the interview being quote canceled unquote. It's not actually canceled.
It's probably going to come out. I'm almost certain that it will come out.
Well, no, it's going to come out. There's no way Sony.
I'm pretty certain
Sony's
it'll be in
not
theaters. I'm pretty sure it will come out in theaters. I'm pretty.
You think so? I would think it would come out.
I'm certain that it will come out eventually. Somehow.
Oh yeah.
You know, if it's just streaming on Netflix or Crackle or a digital through iTunes only, whatever form, I'm sure it will come out. And I'm thinking it'll probably get a theater release. They're just going to let it cool off. Maybe get the FBI involved, try to get their data back, take down whatever hacker group, which hilariously is called the GOP.
I know, right?
That's
the Guardians of Peace.
Guardians of Freedom.
Oh my
Guardians of Peace. By the way, that name sums up
Peace.
why I can't stand hackers.
Oh my god.
That self-righteousness just reeks in that name.
I saw the
With the Guardians
SNL
of Peace.
the SNL Dr. Evil opening where they mentioned that it's the GOP. I'm like, oh my god. Are you serious?
Unfortunate naming for
seriously.
GOP political party.
Oh,
but
well.
anyway.
Here's a question I want to ask. Did you guys plan on seeing the interview before all this shit hit the fan?
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Yeah,
I did.
I was going to go see it on Christmas Day. I was excited.
I don't know. I really liked Neighbors. That really surprised me. It was kind of a surprisingly... it was very raunchy. It had some of the dumb humor, but it actually had a decent enough theme going for it, which was rare to see in such a raunchy comedy. Good acting from especially Zac Efron. He showed he could act. And so I was thinking, it's the same team. I've always liked James Franco. He has a very odd persona, even with his characters.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
So I was interested in seeing it. It wasn't like I was dying to. If I made a list of top 20, it probably wouldn't be there even in the top 20, but I was going to see it. And then I was absolutely going to see it when all this controversy broke out.
Isn't that interesting, though?
No.
A friend of mine posted on my Facebook when I originally shared the story, and she's like, there haven't been any trailers for this movie, even though there absolutely have been trailers.
Yeah.
Whether this is just a big ploy for Sony Pictures just to push the release back and get people interested. And that's not the case, though, but man, it really has helped in their favor. People want to see this movie now.
And that's what's hilarious. So, hey, GOP, That's what you want to call yourself. Guardians of Peace, if you're
Guardians
listening.
of the Galaxy. I mean, Guardians of Peace, whatever.
I wish it was the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Please,
Fucking
that'd
just
be
Bradley
awesome.
Cooper.
They're
on
actually
everybody,
like
on
respectable individuals.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hope this group realizes that they took something that would probably be just a decently well received, silly comedy that will be dismissed in a month's time, and turned it into one of the biggest news stories of the year.
Oh yeah,
The biggest
It would
news
have come
stories
and
of the
go.
past 10 years, honestly.
It would have come and go. No one
Yeah.
would have cared until you did this.
Yep.
You made this far worse. It's mind-boggling. Like, they made this far worse. If they don't want people seeing this movie, if they don't want people knowing about this movie because they see it as so immoral and wrong, how about you just let it go through theaters in a few weeks
Yeah,
and no
seriously.
one will care?
With all the movies that
It's
were
true.
coming out around Christmas time, it's just like the interview would have just flew on by and be just some
no
just
one-
another
I don't know. It has
typical movie.
Seth Rogen and James Franco. Those are pretty.
I know,
Yeah,
but
it would
you
have
have
done
like
decently well, but it's not like it would have
it-
any impact.
I know it would have done well, but I mean, it
Yeah,
probably wouldn't have
it
done
wouldn't
as
be known
well
as like
it
one
would
of
have
the weirdest
now.
freaking things to happen in the history of world cinema. And
Right.
I'm not exaggerating by saying that.
Nope,
But
not
you
even a
s-
little
like,
bit.
It's amazing that they've unified. Like, right now on this issue, I'm agreeing with Mitt Romney and Donald Trump. They've unified us. They've unified.
This is bipartisan,
a huge
motherfucker.
part. Exactly. They've unified a huge part of the American population behind
Yeah.
this stupid James Franco Seth Rogen movie.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of what they wanted, and they are idiots for not foreseeing this.
Yeah, like
How could this not happen?
It's really, but okay. I want to talk about in regards to that. I want to talk about something that like has actually really bothered me about this issue.
Okay.
It's that an alarming amount of people, either in real life or on Facebook, social media platforms, they really just seem to like not care about like what they just seem to care more about whether or not the movie is good over
Oh,
this
yeah,
issue.
yeah, no, that's upsetting.
And
Yeah,
it doesn't
like,
matter.
there's like missing the point, and then there's missing the fucking point.
Yes. Now, that's the thing. I did not like last year. I did not care for Man of Steel or Pacific Rim. Okay, those were the two that like no, do not care for. It doesn't matter if it was Pacific Rim 2, and I knew for a fact that it was way worse. I would still in no way support actions trying to keep it from being screened.
Oh,
Quality
yeah.
does not matter. The Last Airbender 2, I would not. No.
If there
there's
was
no
a movie
film.
God.
made to like completely destroy me personally, if it was a movie demonizing Max Mariner, I would still have it screened.
Wait, was my screenplay leaked? That's my movie. That's my movie.
It was
Back
blacklisted, so I mean, we may have, it'll be on the internet.
It's
for a
the
while.
assassination of Max Mariner by the
Jesus.
super awesome person John Capdeville.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, but like it's still like
Wow.
I don't like I would. I mean, that's just me. Now, it's also really weird how people have like attributed this to like how it's this is like American patriotism. How it's like they can't let us do this, but I think this patriotic response kind of proves this more than anything that we care a lot about our culture and our art. And
Well,
our
yeah, no,
entertainment.
that's the thing. Like, again, we'll get to this issue in a little bit, I guess. I don't want to jump into it right now, Max, because I know we disagree a little bit on it. Whether or not this is considered censorship, but the fact that, according to the FBI, this was backed by the country of North Korea, this hacking of Sony and the threats following it. I think it makes sense that it's patriotic, because if that's true, this was a country hacking into
Us.
one of Hollywood, and we love Hollywood here. Like, Hollywood
my
is about as America as you get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the silver.
it's not Hollywood. It's giving someone the middle finger in the freaking street.
Yeah, I think
also
this
American.
event, this whole thing, is just shown me once again that, despite whether or not you really are adamant about it or not, everybody likes free speech. I think that's something that I think if there's any topics that we as
Max, we'll get to it,
Americans
we'll get to it.
are incredibly vehemently opposed to, it's censorship or anything of that sort. Now, I haven't really formed a complete opinion on whether or not this is censorship, which is why I'm curious as to
we'll
hearing
debate that a bit.
your sides. But I really
Lord.
like that. I really like that
too
people
early in
are
the morning.
really standing up and saying this is really not okay.
Yeah,
You
we're
know?
not okay with it. Like,
I know.
and I totally get that, and I love that it is something as silly as just a James Franco Seth Rogen movie. Even something as silly as that is enough for people to say no. We're not going to let some crazy dictator decide that I can't see this movie.
Yeah.
Even if something as small as just a movie, because we're realistic in the grand scheme. Movies have little effect. A singular movie has little effect on the world as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Except in this case, it kind of has turned into a big effect, especially if it starts a war. But I'm glad that something this small has triggered this. It means that we do kind of care. So, I might not have a huge opinion of the American people, not a great opinion of them or this country in general, but that's reassuring that at least, something as silly as this can make us go, no.
Yeah.
Because, all those people that are tweeting, like, now I have to see the interview. Because we don't want that. We don't want someone to tell us we can't. We don't want
somebody from some other country telling us what we can and can't watch.
It sounds so childish, where it's like, you can't see the interview. Well, now I'm gonna. Just because you said it. I wasn't gonna before, but... Yeah.
You can't make me do not see the interview.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's kind of noble in a really weird, petty way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, just because you said I couldn't, I'm gonna. I don't know. I still respect it, though. It sounds
so
petty,
essentially, it's noble.
Like it.
It's noble in the American way. Is what you're essentially saying.
It is noble in the American way. Oh, boy. That is perfect. That is
gonna go on this American train. I mean, let's be careful, guys.
The noblest
I'm just poking
America
fun. I'm just poking fun. This country, it's got problems, but I still like living in it. As far as I'm concerned.
So.
It's a 6 out of 10. It's got a solid foundation, but it could be better.
Too much water.
It's a too much water out of 10.
That is a very obscure reference for those not on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, so, like...
I think what we should talk about now is, like, obviously the main heart of this argument is, should Sony have pulled it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Like, okay, so I think we're all agreed there, but I still think we should deliberate on it.
Yeah, at the same time, though, I was originally, like, Sony completely coward, but at the same time, it really was the theater chains the coward.
Okay, thank you. I was going to bring that up, because... it's like everyone's blaming Sony for this, and Sony does have some blame, and I'll get to that. And also, whenever I don't want to tweet my defense of Sony and stuff, because I will come across as like, oh, I just love PlayStation and I'm trying to defend Sony. but seriously, Sony was going to release it. Sony Pictures was going to release the interview. And they did the courteous thing, I guess. I don't know if I would, in their position, do this, but I think they expected it anyway, so they just said, it's up to the theaters. Okay, that was courteous. I might not have done that, but at the same time, the outcome probably would have been the same, so they kind of looked better if they just said it. They said, it's up to the chains, the theaters. And then, of course, the theaters are the ones that dropped it. However, the counter-argument is that the theaters were the ones that were basically in immediate danger, except the counter-argument to that is that the Department of Homeland Security deemed the threats not credible. And really, it's just kind of common sense that it's not credible. There's such a big difference between just being able to hack a studio and being able to pull off legitimate real-world terrorism. Like, there's such a huge disconnect. And if the Department of Homeland Security says there's no credibility, I don't think the theaters were in the right to drop the movie. And the thing about that is Sony probably should have just kept it up and helped out the small cinemas. Like, as soon as I heard the news that a Cinemark is my local chain that's here, as soon as I heard that Cinemark pulled it, I texted my boss. I work at this really small local arts theater, and we screen some movies, but more indie movies. Like, right now we've got The Theory of Everything and with Rosewater, like, those kind of indie movies. And I texted him immediately saying, is there a chance that we could get the interview because Cinemark just dropped it? And he texted back, yeah, I've already sent in some emails. And we were trying so hard to get it because that would have been such a huge boost for us. Like, imagine all the people that want to see the interview. They're going to be flooding into our little theater. It'd be amazing. So I feel like Sony should have stuck through for our sake and for other small chains or the moderate chains that, did decide to keep running it. But at the same time, almost no one would see it. So I don't blame Sony that much for just canceling the release altogether. Because what would be the point? They were taking a risk with their data being hit. Like, that's the thing that is credible. That's the credible part. That they do still have some Sony information that they haven't let out. That's credible. So Sony was kind of in the right to say, we don't want that leaked for the sake of, 30% of people in the United States being able to see it, as opposed to, like the 98 with the other 5 theater chains attached. So that was really long-winded. Sorry, but I hope I got the point across. Sony's partially to blame, but the theater chains kind of had the first say, and they said wrong.
They cowered.
They did.
Cowered. Basically, this whole thing was a bunch of cowering over threats that were not credible. Can we point out the fact that Homeland Security deemed these threats uncredible?
Exactly. Now, no movie is worth actual physical harm to moviegoers. So if these were credible threats, I would be 100% in support of it because it's not worth it. No matter what philosophical stance you can make to be like, we don't negotiate with terrorists. No, people's lives are at risk. You don't show the stupid James Franco Seth Rogan movie. However, when they're labeled by the authority in the country on what's a threat, what's not, like that's their only job, and they say it's not, it's hard to defend your position to pull it. You know?
And it's funny, like when the president of the United States tells you that you done goofed.
Yeah, man. That was a pretty big deal. Like, in one of his addresses, that was a main talking point, was this movie. I just wanted for a second, let's talk about how incredible that is. The President of the United States took time out of this address to say something about just this one movie. Like,
how about movies? When does the president ever freaking talk about movies?
Yeah, that's
rare. His favorite movie?
But I mean, hey, let's give props to
his favorite
Obama.
movie is Django?
That was, one of the emails that was leaked.
Yeah, but I do wonder what his favorite movie is. Anyway,
this year he said Boyhood was his favorite movie. So.
Oh, nice.
I haven't seen it.
Nice. Richard Linklater's probably he's probably smoking pot outside, but yeah.
All right, so we all agree it was wrong.
Yes.
For the theaters and Sony to call the movie, and I think the reasoning is pretty simple. That's what they wanted. I mean, you can argue about whether or not the threats
you can argue that Sony pulled the movie entirely because they knew it wouldn't make them any money after the theater chains cowered, but Sony shouldn't have given up to the theater chains. They should have been adamant. They should have been no, we are screening this movie.
But that's the thing. What choice? What can Sony do? They can't force them to show the movie. The theater owners could the manager of each individual physical theater could just hit the delete key on their system and take the movie out if need be. Like, Sony was in no position to demand it. I think that would only have hurt the relationship between Sony and these theater chains, which already Sony isn't like a top name studio. They make a lot of movies, I guess, but they're not like big fronts. I don't know if they could afford to have such a hit in the relationship with theater chains. So I feel like they tried to handle it best they could. It didn't work, but I don't know what I would have done differently, except not cancel the movie screening.
Yeah, that would have been nice of them. That would probably have been the best idea. But I know that there was one thing we had to talk about, and Sean, it's so early in the morning.
No, we want to, but first, I just want to address that Max and I emotions were higher earlier. We already kind of fought this out on Twitter.
Yeah, I have no
but we did
room
not
for
come
emotions
to a
right
conclusion.
Oh boy, here we go.
Whether or not this pulling the interview is censorship.
Should we state our
say whether or not
now,
it is censorship, it sucks.
Yes,
it's bad and it shouldn't happen.
But Max, is it censorship?
I don't think it is. I think it was listen, if okay, this is going to imply something about North Korea that I don't believe, but if a bully comes up to you and tells you that he's going to steal your lunch money if you take a step to the right, he's not censoring you from doing that. You can still take a step to the right. This is not based on he's not keeping you from doing that. He's just saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this," but you can still have the opportunity to Now, what censorship would be doing is literally making a wall to you, making a wall where you're standing so that you cannot step to the right.
No, but that's never how censorship actually works. Censorship is always a matter of choice.
Now that example implies that North Korea is a bully, and it's not. It's a fucking pipsqueak, but still.
Nice. I hope we don't get hacked. Rule 30 is taken down by...
That would be bad.
Yeah.
Then we'll just leak that. Then we'll just leak our podcast of killing Kim Jong-un to the internet.
The radio play of killing Kim
Jong-un. We recorded it.
We
recorded it before we got here. We recorded it. It's all ready to go.
But see, Max, your analogy here implies that censorship is not a choice at all for the person being censored, and it's also so easy for you to say the bully isn't keeping you from stepping to the right when you're not the one that's going to take a punch to the face. That's so easy for you to say. No, you could have done this. You could have taken a step to the right.
Yeah, censorship is keeping you from doing it in the first place. No, you have. You shouldn't, but you have the ability to.
That's what censorship is. If you include this portion, I'll have your family executed. That's censorship. And dictatorship regimes, if you publish this book, your press would be shut down.
Yeah.
You'd be imprisoned. You and your whole family. You're probably going to be shot. There's a choice. There's always a choice.
Yeah, I mean,
it's almost never the fact where someone walks in and physically makes it like literally impossible to do what you want. They always just say, "Here are the consequences. You can't."
Yeah, I feel that the analogy, Max, that you're using is not exactly on the same level as what's going on. I mean, like, if we say, okay, if you include this portion of whatever media you're working with, I'll execute you. You could always still include that portion, but why would you? If you're going to be executed,
like it's saying, it's if you make it not worth it, you
fine.
take out like that.
Okay, fine. Let's talk about fine. But in this instance is not censorship because none of that shit is happening. These were all based on uncredible threats.
No, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how credible it is. That maybe the bully has no intention of punching you because he's had 2 warnings and the third he get expelled and his parents would be mad at him. Like, he might have no intention of punching you. Okay, going back to your analogy, which again I say is flawed, but let's just roll with it.
Yeah,
there's no evidence necessarily that the bully's going to punch you. There's stuff that we don't know. Maybe he might not. Are you still going to take that step?
His hand just doesn't work.
Right, and even if you did know, like they should have known, this is, if anything, at least attempted censorship. Also, I reject the notion that censorship has to be like official. Like you on Twitter, Max, you responded like censorship would be if the U.S. government told Sony to pull it.
Well, I mean, that would be censorship. Because
yes, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's official or not. And also, even if Obama called up head of Sony and said, "Don't release the interview," the head of Sony could still say, "No, I'm going to." Guess what? He would just go to prison. But there we go back to he has that choice. That would be does that go to treason, disobeying a direct order? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's treason.
Yeah, I mean, and he could totally risk that if he plays so firmly about the interview. It doesn't matter if it's official or not. This hacking group is trying to censor the interview. And it breaks down to this. I tweeted this to you over and over, Max. I don't think you understand. This movie is not being screened due to content. It is pulled from public view due to content. People do not want it seen due to its content.
You're making it sound like it's a YouTube bot. Like, it got copyright claimed.
No,
it's being removed.
Not, though. It's content being about killing Kim Jong-un. Because it is that, this all started. Because really, that's what it comes back to. This doesn't come back to the hackers wanting to make a statement. They would not care unless this movie had the content that it does, as in killing Kim Jong-un. That's at the base of this. The content, because it's being pulled due to content exclusively, as its source of the problem, that is censorship. That is unarguably censorship. It is being denied viewing due to content. That is that's censorship. I can't argue that. That is censorship.
Okay.
See, I don't know I don't know how you can refute that.
But right now my brain is not functioning it's not functioning.
Well, you didn't refute it on Twitter earlier either, so...
What?
You didn't refute it on Twitter earlier either, so...
No, I did.
No, you didn't. You never addressed that statement. You were doing circles around it, but that statement itself, I want to know how that does not mean it's
not. If you look it up, censorship has no, it was... Where did you learn about censorship, John? Where did you learn about it?
I don't know. It's just a word.
If you look in a dictionary, you'll find, actual words for censorship, and there's no phrase in there that says, it was removed due to content. Censorship has been, construed, misconstrued.
Also, I always feel like it's really weak to just go the dictionary definition of a word.
It's not... Well, no, I don't think it's weak at all. I think it's you're being literal if you want to say that's what censorship is.
But being literal is not how people actually work.
The dictionary is a final word on what things mean, so...
No,
you
it's really not. The dictionary hasn't been relevant in a really long time.
Oh, for God's sake, don't go there.
What we call, I don't agree with it, but people use literally to mean figuratively.
That's not the dictionary. Well, yes, they're wrong. Those people are wrong, and they should not be using it like that.
Oh, yeah, that's just annoying, because that's just an antonym. That's just, they're doing the exact opposite of what the word actually means. That's really just stupid. Anyway, censorship has...
Sean, you are literally making me yawn right now.
My dictionary app on my computer right now has censorship, the practice of examining books, movies, etc., and suppressing unacceptable parts.
Yeah, that's not... that's not what happened here.
It is
a guy isn't just taking the movie and going, let's see what's going on here. No, it's
Well, parts doesn't have to... It doesn't have to be just parts. Movies as a whole have been censored before in history. That's not... And that's... Besides, that's just... I don't know... what's the word for just like trivial, minor stuff?
Pursuit? I don't know.
It's trivial, really. That word choice.
Yeah, good word. I don't know. I gotta have to agree with Sean on this one. I don't know. I mean, it really does feel like censorship. Not only based on just a dictionary definition, but it just feels like based off of somebody else's beliefs, the North Koreans. I do not have the ability to see something under my own merit, and let me make this very clear. I had no interest in seeing the interview whatsoever.
Right,
even when I know, but
It makes no
even when this controversy happened, I still didn't care. But this really does bother
It doesn't matter, Larry. Get to the point.
me. Max, relax, okay?
Yeah, I was just saying it doesn't matter, as in it's about the principle.
Right.
Not
As I was
the
about
movie.
to say,
Yes.
this bothers me because I don't think this is just not right on any conceivable level whatsoever. It is and now that I think about it, it really is censorship.
Hurrah!
And really, North Korea has barely ever been a legitimate threat in the first place.
They're not.
So why?
It's a terrifying place, and I feel bad for the people that have to
Oh
live
yeah,
there.
no,
it
that's
is
awful.
terrifying. I mean, like
But
if you
they
see
can't do
footage,
anything to us.
They
Man.
look to their leader as a god. It's like
I know
holy shit, dude.
it's terrifying. But it's I hate it. But a friend I was talking to this with a few friends, and one of my friends made this point that and that I really now that I think about it, I'm really starting to disagree with. He says that when you make a film about a dictator who's currently alive and living, and this dictator runs a country that is kind of clouded in this sort of not very self-aware, just devout, this leader is God, as you said. They don't really take jokes about that. About Kim Jong-un and his rule over them.
Yeah.
So my friend was saying, well, listen, what did you expect?
Nope. That is
And
never.
I know.
And
I'm
on that
thinking-
similar note, I've seen people go like, you know what? Well, this movie shouldn't have been greenlit in the first place, and that I think is closer to censorship than whatever is going on here. That implies that we cannot speak about these things because they just
exactly.
But see, Max, I mean, see, that brings up an interesting point. Like, it's due to content it's being pulled. Now, okay, let's say that because Christmas is crowded this year in terms of movie releases. Let's just say that they didn't want to release it because it's so crowded, and they pulled it from the schedule. Like, okay, we'll release it later, and then they just never released it for some reason or the other. Like, it just never worked out.
What is that? Welcome to Yesterday? Anybody?
Okay. Anyway, that's not censorship. That's just unfortunate circumstances. They wanted to release it, but it was busy, and then it just never happened. Whatever. This is different because this is content-based. That's what makes it censorship. It's not just a business decision. Or, like, if it wasn't greenlit because they think it'd be controversial, that would also be a form of censorship. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you there. I fail to see the difference between that and what happened now.
I know,
It's just a different group demanding it.
And
it's
I would have
it's
been
the Sony executives or it's these hackers.
And I know that the interview, the humor is a little, dumb, and kind of stupid. But I would have been really happy if the interview did kind of bring up the ridiculousness of North Korea and kind of had some sort of a commentary on just how crazy the country is. Because I feel that it's important to talk about a country that is so isolated and so just unaware of the outside as North Korea
I think,
is.
personally, guys, in our lifetime we'll see North Korea just kind of fade away.
Which leads us to the final point of this. Do you think, and I've been thinking about this off and on recently, do you think something could actually come from this? Like an actual conflict?
Yes.
Like
but it's already happened. It's a cyber conflict. Like,
are we really will the history books really be written that like a world, like not a World War III, but like a war between the United States and North Korea started because of a freaking James Franco movie?
Well,
like, listen,
I mean, it could. I don't think we're going to go to war, but there's going to be fallout from this, so we don't quite know yet.
Let's hope it's not the kind of fallout that's going to kill us all.
Well, they don't have nukes, so I'm not
Wow,
worried.
we are so we are so overly armed. They really shouldn't be bothering us.
Well,
anyway.
I guess a war against North Korea would not last long.
Yes, I mean, listen, not like
I want
America's
it to happen,
awesome, but we are so armed to the freaking teeth.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really sad. Like, let's
I think
ask
North
all
Korea's
the
just gonna
residents to
dissolve.
leave the country, and then we'll just bomb all the officials.
Yeah.
Well, no, what's going to happen? It's going to be pretty hilarious. It's just going to dissolve, and then South Korea and North Korea are just going to kind of mesh, like East and West Germany, And it's going to be so hilarious when the South Koreans meet up with the North Koreans and they're like, oh, you don't want to eat our babies? Because we were told that all you guys you're all about eating our babies.
Yeah, because we were told, like, you guys really want to eat our babies. Is that not
I think in our lifetime we'll see it. We'll see that.
Yeah.
No, we'll see it fall.
But until then, we'll just keep watching movies. And also, honestly...
Well, okay. Also, quick note, while we're still in North Korea, then you can wrap up with movie topic. As you bring up that a lot of people are saying that it actually wasn't North Korea... And I don't know. Like, this thing, if we go with the official word, we could be called out for, like, oh, you're sheep believing what the government says. But if I pull up some source that says it wasn't North Korea, who knows if they're actually credible, if they're making stuff up. So I'm just not going to touch the issue. But I did want to bring up to people listening that some people are saying that it wasn't North Korea backed.
Oh.
So, we'll see. But again, the official word is North Korea. For the time being,
the point is that Sony Pictures pulled this movie because they were scared.
And at the end of the day, I believe that if what you did makes terrorists happy, you made the wrong call.
Yeah,
that's kind of
it's not about negotiating with terrorists. It's about fulfilling them.
Like, this wasn't negotiating. Yeah. It's not like if they negotiated saying, "Hey, if you don't release, we won't release data if you pull it all together." And Sony said, "Well, how about we just do limited?" And then they go, "Oh, okay."
There were no negotiations with terrorists here.
No, they just gave
actions that followed.
They just gave in.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a good discussion. I enjoyed it.
It got less heated than I thought, which is good.
And hey, you want to know a really good way
Merry
to end
Christmas,
this
guys.
discussion?
Didn't we once talk about how we were going to talk about Christmas movies this week because it's just the most obligatory podcast ever? I think we once said that. Now look at where we're at.
This is so cheerful, guys. Merry Christmas.
Well, you want to hear something kind of cheerful?
Okay.
They're planning on releasing the movie.
Well, yeah. They're plans.
Yeah. They do have plans to release it in some theaters on Christmas.
Oh, nice.
And I think they
Hopefully
do
show it in
also
the George R. R.
have
Martin Theater in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
They do also have a video on demand plan going. Just not with Dish, though, because the Dish one fell through. But
well, listen, I think my favorite part of this whole thing is that President Obama told Sony they done goofed. I think that will never not be funny for me because, dude, the President of the United States just told you screwed up. Like, how do you recover from that? Anyway. This has been fun. I enjoyed it. I wish all the hypothetical listeners out there a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. But in reality, this new year ain't done yet. Or this year ain't done. We're not done podcasting. Anyway, what we'd like to announce is, if you didn't hear, which I don't think we even made an announcement for, CinemaTalk is going away. CinemaTalk is going away for forever. But it's not like we're not going anywhere. You see, Rule Thirds, after a long talk and a long hiatus, we decided that Rule Thirds, as a video website, just isn't really coming up to par. So what we're doing instead is...
It's not working for us in our personal lives. Really, what's the problem?
So instead, we are turning Rule Thirds into a full-fledged podcast. I don't know if this really changes the format, but it does. Means that
we shouldn't say CinemaTalk is going. It's getting rebranded.
Yeah.
It's getting rebranded. Same.
It's getting promoted to full website material.
Yes. So now it's just Rule Thirds, your favorite movie podcast, right?
Yeah. So and we're ending our CinemaTalk run next week with our review of The Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies.
The end of the Tolkien movies.
I am so down.
Hashtag one last CinemaTalk. So
hashtag one last CinemaTalk. Love it.
Anyway, this was fun, guys. I enjoyed it.
It was.
Until next time, my name is Max.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Larry.
Hear us later, guys, and have a Merry Christmas.
See ya.
Let's all go to the lobby to get our